One thing I really think is interesting about studying Japanese slang, or just slang anywhere, is looking at the variety of places that these words come from. Sometimes, of course, they are birthed from subcultures that like playing with language. I've talked about a number of terms that have come from, for instance, 2chan, but also specifically the Nanjay forum of 2chan, which is ostensibly a baseball forum, but is known for having a subculture that plays with language, resulting in terms like sangatsu that I've discussed earlier. Other words just pop out of seemingly nowhere by something someone just said in a video, or places that we can't even trace, just kind of arising out of the internet. But one thing that becomes really clear when you trace the origins of slang, and this is of course true for Japanese slang, is that a lot of words just come because someone is popular and people pay attention to what the person says, and the words become popular because the person is popular. Case in point, today I'm going to talk about 3 words that have become popular because of Kemio. Kemio is a Japanese talent, musician, influencer, and model known for not only a massive YouTube following, TikTok following, and a really, honestly, in my opinion, pretty cool and unique sense of fashion, also says things. And because he is a popular person, other people say those things too, turning them into the kind of buzzwords that I focus on this channel. For instance, on April 5th of 2024, Kemio said some things in a video. And one person commented that when Kemio says honmani, or a variant of hontoni, it sounds like home money. And Kemio saw this comment and thought it was hilarious. And so did his fans. Interest in this term popped off in July or August of 2024, and Kemio has even put it into videos, subtitling it not with the original Japanese, but with hon money, emphasizing his pronunciation. At the end of the same video though, Kemio says another thing, which is ottama get down. And this is a variant also, based on his pronunciation of things, of the phrase ottamageta, which is the past tense of kind of be surprised, be shocked. These words both exploded together, and in November of 2024, a survey found that among young girls, money was the #1 phrase, with otamaget down in a close second. Both saw extensive use on the internet during this time, with hon money generally just used as a variant of hon money with no other meaning. Like this person here, you could easily place that with even just hontoni and it'd be fine. Although I will admit there are a few that make it feel like people are kind of emphasizing the wealth element, such as this person talking about cars, or this person who I guess is talking about some kind of fashion that's expensive. And ottama get down used just like the original, either to show shock, which can be pleasant, as in this person, or in this person here, or in a more negative shock, as in this kind of example that you see here. Indeed, there are many examples that make me feel like ottama get down is the closest thing Japanese has to OMG, in that it can express not only happy shock and sad shock, but also just kind of like speechlessness, as in your joy of seeing your idol like this. But while these are the Kemio terms that have popped off most recently, at least that I'm aware of, as I mentioned, Kemio has long been an influence because he is popular and he talks. The 2 conditions you need. But back in 2018, Kemio became famous for the phrase Agemizawa.
Agemizawa, Agemizawa. Agemizawa.
That apparently, according to him at least, he created by taking age, which was used by gyaru, etc., as kind of like tensions going up, vibes are going up. And then at the same time, he was hanging out with friends and they had kind of an in-group joke where they just attached me to things, like his example is going to London and calling it Rondon me. And then Zawa somehow got attached there, and he doesn't explain that, but the predominant theory is just sounded good. And it exploded. In 2018, it became huge in popularity. It was the #1 slang term registered by PR Times that year, which is like a major survey company that looks at Japanese slang. I use them a lot to find terms that are popping off, and began seeing use as kind of a variant of, age, tension age, just vibes are up, getting hyped, having a lot of fun. Like this person here who is doing it over some food, or this person here who's just, again, vibes are up, Agemizawa. And while this term itself has seen decreasing interest, as you saw in the Google Trends, it did spawn kind of a rebirth in 2023 when it resulted in the Agezame pose, which is this. It's like hang loose, but not, because, I don't know. The aforementioned PR Times ranked this the 4th most popular pose among young women in Japan in 2023. People posted themselves doing it, or art of people doing it on Twitter quite a lot. And while 2023 was arguably the peak, it was associated with young girls before that, as even Shunsuke Michieda of the band Naniwa Danshi dressed up as a schoolgirl for a Japanese variety show, and as part of this performance did the Agemizawa pose. Although, as a side note, there is a bit of confusion. Some people call this the Agemizawa pose, but in my understanding, this is more well known as the gyaru piece, or like gal, girl piece. Here, for instance, you can see people doing the gyaru piece and calling it the Agemizawa pose. Kemio also does the quote-unquote wrong pose twice in his music video, so it's possible that the name of the pose changed over time. So there seems to be some confusion, and it's clear that we need government action to decide which one is labeled which. But the whole point is that Agemizawa resulted in a pose, whatever that pose is. Now, of course, the popularity of all these terms does hinge heavily on the popularity of the person who came up with them. And broadly speaking, I would say that, from my experience at least, this isn't authoritative. This opinion did not go through peer review. It seems like terms which are connected to a specific person don't have that long of a shelf life. And if I'm being honest, this is not casting shade, because hon money, old tama get down, etc. don't really have like a extra meaning on top of it, except, hey, this is fun. I don't imagine them lasting that long. There have been a lot of phrases that have popped off in the past that have been associated with a specific person, and they've all had kind of short but very bright and vibrant lives. For instance, decades ago, an influencer, singer, talent known as Noriko Sakai, or Noripi, was super popular in Japan and resulted in a wide variety of phrases called Noripigo. Phrases like akapi for akarui or kanapi for kanashi, as well as a number of phrases that involve the word mammoth, as in itadaki mammosu or mammosuraki for very, very lucky.
And this itself may have its own origin story, as Itadaki Mammosu was uttered in a 1983 commercial for curry that came out when Noriko was 12, and she might have seen before she got famous. Not saying that she stole it, but that it could have been in her memory, spawning this new phrase later.
And these are all basically dead, but while they had kind of short and brutal lives as slang terms, they were extremely popular, while Noripi was extremely popular. And I'm sure if somehow a 40, 56-year-old Japanese person is watching this video, they would say that what I've just described is very natsukapi. And I've also covered in these series phrases like nishitenno, which similarly arises from the popularity of Hikakin and is linked to that. When people no longer remember who he is, I'm sure it will disappear as well. So while I usually don't have like a thesis statement in these videos, the reason I wanted to do this one is I think it's interesting how one person can really influence a language, even if it's for a brief moment. And this sort of playing with language, playing with sounds, paying attention to how someone speaks, and commenting on it in a way that they notice and then comment on themselves is a fascinating part of how language develops. And while I have said that, most of these terms are gonna die, that's true about most slang terms in general. Very, very few are mamasuraki enough to become a yabai or a egui, where it seems like pretty soon you will just need to know these words to be able to say you're conversational in Japanese. Similar with something like cool in English. So if you'd like to leave your mark on language, if you'd like to leave your mark on Japanese, it's really simple. Just become like super famous. Enjoy, good luck.